We've got the last 6 movies for me to review that will get me to 200 movies reviewed in 2021. We're looking at movies that came out in November and December of 2021. It includes Resident Evil's latest, Welcome to Raccoon City, a movie directed by Denzel Washington called A Journal for Jordan, and as well Joaquin Phoenix's latest called Come On, Come On. Let's talk movies. Guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie reviews for November and December of 2021. And yes, I've reviewed a lot of movies that came out in that time period already, but these are the final 6 that I have not gotten to for the whole year, and that'll get me to 200 for 2021 for movies reviewed. You can check all of the reviews out on my YouTube channel. There is a playlist for 2021 movies, but if you just want to sort of search individual movies, I guess you could do that as well. But the last few weeks, couple months even, really, we've been pounding away at these month-by-month recaps, taking in, 5 or 6 movies at a time, and just kind of dropping 3 to 4 minute reviews for each one, nothing too long, but get my thoughts out there anyway before we do the 2021 best and worst wrap-up. I know it's April already, we're running a little late, right? But look, the Oscars just happened a few weeks ago, so I mean, it seems like forever ago now with the Will Smith slap and all, but it was just like 3 weeks ago that we had the Oscars, so 2021 sort of just getting those finishing touches put on anyway. But we're going to talk about Come On, Come On, Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City, The Humans, Encounter, Red Rocket, and A Journal for Jordan. Maybe some of these movies you've not heard of. Maybe some could have been, up for some Oscar contention. I don't know. So we'll see. Let's talk about it as we move in here. Come On, Come On will be first. We're just going to go in the order that they were released into theaters. And this one came out in the middle of November. So this is Joaquin Phoenix and director Mike Mills, who is he did 20th Century Women, which was a great movie with Annette Bening. He's done a lot of these sort of more human stories, and essentially this is about Joaquin Phoenix playing this dude Johnny, who is a radio journalist, kind of like a podcaster, I sort of think, but he's traveling the country with his producing partners and interviewing children about their lives and their future. And when he gets to Detroit, he calls his sister Viv, who's not spoken for a while. And she says, hey, can you come to LA and watch my 9-year-old son, Jesse? I've got to travel to Oakland to deal with some things there, blah, blah, blah. And so all of a sudden, Johnny's life is sort of upended as he sort of bonds with this kid that he didn't really know much about before this. And the movie sort of takes a turn and becomes not really a buddy movie, but a movie about parenthood and new parenthood and all of this stuff. Gabby Hoffman, by the way, who's always great, plays his sister as well. But this kid, Woody Norman, as Jesse, the 9-year-old, is fantastic. The real heart and soul of this movie. And Mike Mills, I think, always kind of gets the human experience in a unique way. This movie is in black and white, and it's, shot very interestingly, and it's really, if I can remember correctly, I think maybe even the framing is not widescreen. I think it's a little more, not quite, boxy, but I think there's it's not quite widescreen. It's a little more unique than that. But 20th Century Women, like I mentioned earlier, is a great movie. Annette Bening, was getting a little bit of Oscar buzz for it. I don't think she got nominated, but I think he may have been nominated for screenplay for that. And here's another one. I think, look, this could have had some Oscar potential. I'm not sure why it sort of fell through the cracks. But another thing that's unique about this is, and I couldn't find any really details on this, but I believe that the kids that Joaquin Phoenix's character is interviewing throughout the movie, I think that's all unscripted. He's asking them questions about, life and about the world and all of these things. And I got the complete sense that their answers were very candid and unscripted. And this is just what kids think. And I thought that was cool too. It's a nice little touch, of even more humanity to put in this movie. I absolutely loved this movie. I thought the chemistry between Norman and Phoenix was fantastic, and it really, look, maybe the story has been a little bit done. Of okay, this you've brought this kid into my life, and I don't really know what to do with him, and da 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 da, da and then they end up bonding. Okay, we've seen that, right? But it's just done in such a real way, and the script, shows that. I believe Mills wrote the script as well, right? Yeah, written and directed. Yep. And it does not surprise me because he always does sort of interesting looks at things and has sort of a distinctive voice, I guess. So I loved this movie. Come on, gets an A from me. Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City is next. This is, of course, the latest in the video game franchise. And this is basically kind of a prequel to what some of the things have already been done. It's adapted from the stories in the first and second games all the way back. I have no idea, in the early 2000s, I guess, maybe. But it's set in 1998. It follows a group of survivors trying to survive through a zombie outbreak in Raccoon City, a small town. Kayla Scodelario is the lead of this, and I just saw her in something else that I can't even think of what it was, but people might know her best from the Maze Runner series, and she was also in this really cool horror movie called Crawl a few years ago. But Robbie Amell is here as well, Neil McDonough, and look, this movie is not good. Okay, as somebody who does not play the video games, though, the plot made no sense. From what I read and what I understand, if you've played the games, you will enjoy this movie better. I don't think you'll love it, but the plot will at least make sense to you. I guess because it's based on two different games, they just sort of chopped and cut up so much of the plot that I didn't understand why anybody was in Raccoon City. I didn't quite understand what the government stuff was there. Okay, I get the zombie stuff. There's a zombie attack and you got to save your life, and I get that part. But anything else, I didn't understand what was happening in this movie. And Kayla Scodelario is a decent scream queen. Like I mentioned, Crawl was a really fun movie from a few years ago, and she was very good in that. Doing the old scream thing. But here it's fine. Like, the only thing I can say that was positive about it really was that there are some interesting deaths and some kind of gory action sequences and stuff. That if you're into that, I think maybe you'll enjoy some of the visual component of this a little bit. But I don't really like that kind of gore horror stuff anyway. I have to sort of shield my eyes for a lot of it. So it's not really my style of horror anyway. But I can admit that, yes, they had some cool deaths, and maybe some of it looked interesting. But the movie just made no sense. And also the overacting by some of the people did not help. So look, I've only seen, I think, maybe 3 of the Resident Evil movies now, if you include this one. I've seen the first one, and I saw whichever one came out when I was doing the weekly Film Fanatics review show. So that was whatever the latest one was, I guess 5 or 6 years ago. And none of them really appealed to me, so I guess take that for what it's worth. But this is the worst one that I've seen. I leave Welcome to Raccoon City with a D+. All right, so up next is going to be The Humans, and this is an interesting cast in this because it's a drama. It's like a mystery drama, I guess you could say. And Amy Schumer is one of the stars. You don't usually associate her with drama. And I watched this, like the week before the Oscars. So I was like, prepping for the Amy Schumer jokes at the Oscars. Richard Jenkins, though, is in this, who obviously we know very well as a great dramatic actor. But this is basically one of these movies, and I mentioned this sort of in the last review where I talked about Mass, this amazing movie, where I do love movies where people kind of sit around and talk about, what's going on. This sort of takes a few twists and turns with that, but it's essentially set inside a downtown Manhattan apartment, and it follows just one evening on family Thanksgiving. And we are discussing things, and we're talking about sort of family secrets. And as darkness falls outside, mysterious things start going bump in the night. And the building itself is sort of on its last legs. It's kind of like crumbling down as we speak. And with that, the family tensions are rising up. So this is an interesting piece because it's not exactly just a drama. There's more to it than that. There's a little thriller elements as the story goes on, a little bit of mystery. Um, and Amy Schumer is doing her sort of biting comedy kind of thing, like her little pithy comments and whatever, that do lend a little bit of comedic timing to the drama. And for that matter, so does Richard Jenkins. I mean, the guy's a pro at drama, but Cabin in the Woods and stuff, he knows comedy too. So his comedic timing sort of is at play with hers, which I kind of liked because it makes it not just a straight ahead drama movie. There are little bits and pieces of some winking and nodding humor. I don't know if I loved all of the sort of slight tonal changes as we go along, and at the start, I thought maybe it was going to be more of a comedy, and then it launched sort of into this dramatic take. I'll be honest, I like Amy Schumer a lot, but I'm not positive that she was up for all of this sort of dramatic and thriller elements that this movie demanded of her. So I do think she was kind of the weak link with this cast. And let me see who else is in the cast here, because I think, I mean, there's people that we definitely know, including Beanie Feldstein, who is in Booksmart, and she's sort of known for her comedy as well, I guess. But Stephen Yeun is here. June Squibb plays the grandmother. So, I love Amy Schumer as a comedian, but I'm not sure that her dramatic chops were sort of up to the rest of this cast. So I do have to take maybe a point off for that. And just the tonal shifts I don't know that I loved. And the dialogue was good, but it didn't quite invest me the way that Mass did. It seemed like everybody was just kind of being a jerk to each other. And we know there's family drama there, there's family history that we as the viewer don't know, and they fill us in as we go. But sort of left me a little bit cold at the start, and I was like, all right, where's this going? So for me, didn't turn out as good as I would have liked with that cast, but I leave the humans with a B-. Up next is Encounter, and this is my buddy Riz Ahmed. Again, I'm giving him another try here. I always mention The Sound of Metal. So great in that, so I try to seek out things he did, but I reviewed one, I think it was maybe just in the last month, that just left me kind of cold because it was basically the same story as Sound of Metal. This is something very different, though. So he plays a decorated Marine who is on a rescue mission to save his two young boys from a mysterious threat that we sort of find out about as the story goes. The journey takes them in increasingly dangerous directions, and the boys are going to have to grow up quickly in this incident. And Octavia Spencer is here as well as a social worker who basically is accusing him of stealing the boys and kidnapping them. So this movie, talk about tonal shifts, The Humans has nothing on this. This movie is basically two completely separate movies mashed together. At first, it's this, I don't know, drama, action sort of thing, and, maybe even mystery. And then we get into what the boys are trying to escape, and then it becomes something almost wholly different entirely. And Octavia Spencer doesn't even come into the movie for like half of it. So we don't know much about that background until a good halfway into the movie. And then we find out, oh, okay, so they think he's kidnapping these kids, and let's hear him explain it and whatever. We know what we knew ahead of time as the audience in that first half, and then it sort of upends our thoughts. I sort of liked it, but then it never really went back to that first movie. It really was sort of two separate movies completely. Neither of them I disliked, I would say, but but they did not blend very well together. So it was a little bit of an odd sort of departure in that respect. But of course, I love Octavia Spencer, so it's like, oh, okay, cool. Love seeing her. Let's see what she brings to the table. Okay, interesting, but okay, is this the same movie? We don't know. So it was definitely a movie kind of at odds with itself, I would say. But I didn't dislike watching it, and I liked that Riz was doing something different from his Sound of Metal character. So, for that, I have to give it something. The boys were okay, in the acting department. Didn't love them, didn't hate them. They were just kind of, doing their thing. Maybe a little bit of overacting from the younger one, but I will leave Encounter with a C plus. Up next is Red Rocket, and this is one that was actually getting some interesting awards discussion. And for whatever reason, I read 3 different articles on this. For whatever reason, it was not eligible for this year's Academy Awards, which is interesting. I don't know why. Nobody seems to know why, but it wasn't, I guess. Maybe it didn't play in the appropriate theaters or something. But this was from director Sean Baker, who did most recently The Florida Project, which did garner at least one nomination for Willem Dafoe. I think it may have gotten a screenplay nod as well. But yeah, he directs and co-writes here. So Sean Baker movies are no stranger to the Academy. And then the lead actor here was getting a lot of acting buzz, Simon Rex, and I do believe some awards shows nominated him for Best Actor and all of this kind of thing. So this is a movie about this ex-porn star, basically, who is trying to get his life back together. He is basically a hustler that comes back to his hometown, who does not welcome him, and his family does not welcome him, and basically he is an outcast, and oh my God, you're the jerk who went to Hollywood and started doing all those porn movies, and so he's trying to get his life back together, and it is a very funny movie. It's a very touching movie. And we like this character. We might hate ourselves for it, but he reels us in. He's likable. And Simon Rex, I gotta admit, I don't really know that much about him. I knew the name, and I maybe had seen a few things, but it's not like he's a household name. So I didn't quite know what to expect when everybody was saying, oh my gosh, this is so good. This is the guy from the Florida Project, did this movie, which I loved Florida Project, so I was intrigued if nothing else. And it was a very, very good movie. Simon Rex kills this role. I can see why he was being bandied about for, a potential Best Actor nomination for things. I don't think he really was going to win against some of the other competition, but might have been nice to give him a nomination. I think he definitely stood above some of the people maybe that did get nominated this year at the Oscars. So for whatever reason, this movie wasn't eligible, and who knows what might have been. But and he doesn't carry this movie by himself. This really is, one of these movies where it's a quirky town, and everybody sort of is adding their little nuance into it. And essentially, he kind of falls for this teenage girl who works at a donut shop, and the two talk about, oh, maybe we should run off together, and it's got these sort of dramatic beats. But I would say at most it's or at best it's a comedy. And even some of the more dramatic moments turn into comedy with Simon Rex's handling and the script. So this was a lot of fun. I hate this character, though. We get so behind him, and we're like, yeah, why do we like you? You're such a scumbag. And then by the end of the movie, you're just like, oh man, this guy stinks. But they gotcha. He gotcha with his great performance and his charm. And it's a fun script as well. So for Red Rocket, I give it an A minus. Finally, we end on A Journal for Jordan. This is directed by Denzel Washington, and it stars Michael B. Jordan. So nice pedigree here. And it's based on a true story and about this guy, Charles Monroe King. He's deployed in Iraq, and while he's there, he keeps a journal of love and advice for his infant son. And so his fiance, as the son gets older, shares this journal with the boy, and kind of reflects back on her relationship. And as the final movie I watched for 2021, I really was hoping for more. I thought, wow, what a pedigree. Denzel's a great director. We've seen him, direct other movies before. And Michael B. Jordan, usually very solid, with that. But between the script and the really surprisingly, not bad directing, but just, let's say, mediocre. Let's leave it at that. I don't want to bash Denzel's directing too much, but it's not good. I would say it's mediocre. And the chemistry between the two leads is pretty bad. Shantae Adams plays Dana, and most of the time we see Michael B. Jordan is not in Iraq. We see him in flashbacks with her, courting her and dating her and all of this. We see some of the stuff in Iraq, but most of the movie is based in the U.S. with their relationship. Kind of like in this journal, he'll say like, "Oh yeah, I met your mama here," or whatever. So then we flash back to that. And the chemistry was like a zero between the two of them. I couldn't believe it. Michael B. Jordan, I thought he could act with anybody, and I don't know if it's necessarily her fault either. I'm not blaming her. I think the script is bad. It's just sort of weak, and the directing is, yeah, like, it's mediocre. It's okay. It's serviceable. But and maybe it's combined with the poor acting, but it really didn't get me into the story like I thought it was supposed to. I didn't. It's not that I didn't care about the characters, because I guess I did. I was invested enough. But because they had no chemistry, I was like, well, I don't even really care if these people get together. Like, I know they're going to, because that's the whole basis for the movie. But and the way the flashbacks were directed, it just didn't really differentiate that much, unless we were for sure in Iraq. And it was all sort of one baseline of look for the picture. And I thought, well, if we're doing sort of three different eras here. We've got the courtship, we've got the Iraq stuff, and then we've got the present day with the son. And they're all just static directing the same time, the same way. It just was odd. It was an odd choice to me. So overall, this movie was a bit of a letdown for sure. I think we can tell that with my review. I leave a journal for Jordan with a D+. Hate ending on a bad note like that, but look, we're going to do the best and worst of 2021 here coming up, so we'll be able to talk again about some of my favorites. Love that. And then, yes, we'll mention some bad ones as well. I think I have 6 or 7 Fs from the year, so of course we'll talk about all of those again. But that will do it. Thank you so much for watching. We've hit 200 for 2021. Check out all of my reviews in the playlist, 2021 movie review playlist on my channel. So thanks for watching. We'll see everybody next time. Bye.